back once again with our last series of the stream. It is the losers bracket finals between NYK and Buster. There will be a grand finals played between the winner and BioIce, but that is just for a bit of extra prize money. So we're not going to be covering that, as this tournament has already run a bit later than we were planning. So this will be the last match and the qualifying match for the Kings of the North 5th stage. This is for all the marbles.
Imagine that sentence being true, like actually playing for marbles. Like kids back then, man, those guys were dumb. Let's go ahead and talk about some smart kids here. We've got spawning in the upper left-hand corner of Ascension to Ire in the red as a Terran player. That is Buster.
And down in the bottom right corner, we have the pink Zerg, Psystorm, NYK.
There he is. Yeah, it's actually been a while since we cast NYK. He went way down here to the very end of the lower bracket because he did make it so far, so close to advancing, but then unable to do it. So here's his second chance. He gets the opportunity to face off against Buster for the chance to make it to the, Swiss phase of the offline grand finals for Kings of the North.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect to see something similar from the last couple of games from Buster. I'm not sure if NYK was watching the games. I feel like if he's watching the games, that'd be not a big advantage, but I feel like he would have. I would be pretty confident if going into this game that my opponent was going to play the same way against me as he did against the last player, just because it seemed like he was comfortable doing that no matter what. And that makes me think that he's going to just do that no matter what. Again, like there's no reason if he was comfortable doing it against Sammy, I don't see why he wouldn't be comfortable doing it against NYK.
I totally agree, and I think for this match, what's going to be the most important part is I think we touched on it in our last series is all these Terran players, they want to go with this Hellion builds. They want to go for even the Cloak Banshee follow-up. I think we've seen like 4 or 5 times tonight. Right. Just all these ways to get these cheeky little early game advantages versus Zerg. And I know it might sound a little bit pedantic to say, well, just defend against it. Oh. It's like, well, I don't mean to sound condescending. It's just like, well, you get so much value for doing that. And even at the end of last series, we saw the Zerg push out after taking like a big advantageous fight from behind and kind of lose the game off of that, overextending a little bit. So I want to see some defensive play. That's all I'm trying to ask for. It's not too much.
I think that is the smart decision. Hellion Banshee is also a build that's very hard to all in against, so it seems pretty unlikely that we would see NYK going for some all-ins. I feel like he doesn't need to mix it up. And I feel like if I was NYK, my approach would be do a really good job spreading my Hellions, get my early game mechanics really down solid, make sure I squeeze out every drone I can and just defend cleanly and then go for Hive like as quickly as possible. That would be my plan. Because I don't feel like these players need to do anything special. Like I feel like Zerg versus Terran is a matchup. I'm not saying this because Buster is bad or anything at all. Like this is not because he's not good at the way that he plays. He plays good, but I don't think you can play this way 100% of the time and have success against Zerg players of equal skill level. Because I think if they know that this is what's going to happen, it's not easy to play against it by any means. But I think you have the advantage as a Zerg player. Like it's your game to lose if you know what your opponent is doing. In general with Zerg, I think.
We've seen a lot of players out here in Korea, at least that I see play this TVZ matchup, and these are guys that are contenders for the best players in the world, and guys like Sue, Dark, and Rogue. They're actually all in the same GSL group that plays tomorrow, so that's just gonna be ludicrous. Or a couple days from now on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But all of these guys have started to kind of learn Dark specifically, just how to say, okay, well, traditionally there's a lot of early game options for Zerg maybe, but let's just hang back, play late game, defend all the time, and then win with Hive Tech. And they as they have started to just really get good at that, their TVZ win rate has just skyrocketed. So it's going to be really exciting to see whether or not that's the way that Zerg as a whole tries to transition, because a lot of times they've struggled, like we've seen even today, last series with like a Banshee getting too many kills. They don't always like cross all their T's and dot all their I's when it comes to all the options Terran has to harass them.
Right. Yeah, we've definitely seen a little bit less success defending these builds even when people know they're coming. And I mean, that's why these are popular builds, right? It's not trivial to defend Hellion Banshee even if you know that that's what you're facing. But I feel like if you mentally prepare yourself and you think about everything you need to do, it's, you know, it's not too difficult if you are mentally prepared. I think usually the difficult part is that you're not, you know this build is a possibility, but you're not 100% sure it's coming. You're not sure where exactly, the harass is going to come from. But if you do that good job scouting and positioning, I feel like, it's definitely not too bad.
Just give me, all right, there we go. Well, the Hellions ran in, and I mean, do you want to call that enough damage? Do you think that was enough damage?
I mean, the Hellions have done a bit,
okay, a bit. There we go. Appropriate verbiage. There we go.
A few lings here and there, but I mean, I think if you're NYK, you're happy here. NYK is been a little bit slow to drone up. I'm not sure why that is. He did actually make a few banelings, which is a little bit unusual.
Ooh, losing that Banshee is pretty rough, and now there's 5 queens to defend this third. I love it. This is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Right. You get the Detector and the Overseer. You get the 5 queens. Not only do they defend, but they also spread tons of creep. This is looking really good for NYK.
Yeah, this is a pretty early Hydronen too. Like, it's like this lair tech is like a little bit earlier than average. I think that's why his drone count is perhaps a little bit lower than it should be. Like, look at the worker count. This is not good for NYK, actually. Like,
okay, all right, never mind.
NYK, but it's not good. Like, I feel like he should be ahead, but he's not.
On a very low drone count. I think he just kind of stopped after a while. And yeah, here we go. This is why. 24 Zerglings on the way, baneling speed about halfway done. But now 5 drones. Okay. All right. You can do whatever you want.
It's yeah, I feel like NYK is halfway in between like wanting to attack and wanting to defend. Like, he got this early tech, which I feel like you would want to use to attack, but then he's defending with it and he's not really doing much with it. Like, and his mechanics don't quite seem on point. Like, I feel like he just has less than he should. Like, he should have just had more drones and more units, I think, than he did. And Buster, in the meantime, has been pretty good with his execution. He's getting his armory on time this game, one thing that, he wasn't quite doing 100% of the games before. Going up to that 8 racks pretty quick, just like the past games. This is a good style. I mean, this is a good way to play. This is basically how I play against Zerg when I play Hellion Banshee. Going for the 2-2, going for the timing push with 8 racks and 2-2. I think that's the way that you want to play if you're playing against a Zerg that is going to tech into Hive. Because you need to find a time to do damage before Hive, and that's probably the best one. Buster committing a little far on creep could have been dangerous. There was baneling speed done. But at the same time, I feel like he's just got an army advantage. Perhaps not even necessarily that's going to manifest itself here. But as you can see, even though he trades out kind of he's still ahead in supply. Like, even though that fight looks like it went pretty poorly. He's still in he's on 70 SCVs, which is perhaps a bit too many. But that's okay, because he can afford to lose units, he can afford to lose SCVs, and he'll be fine.
Even sending that last little Banshee over to harass the 4th base, that turned out not to be quite so great an idea. And I mean, it's still, like you said, way too much supply going on back at home. It's 8 racks again. So this is just a lot. And those are forward racks that are also serving as a wall. Wow, this is looking pretty good for our Terran player. He has not sustained critical losses just yet, and his counterattack probably will not get a whole lot done.
Yeah, moving up to the top with a drop, it actually is probably going to fall for very little. Not managing to target down that medevac. There we go. And yeah, the lings are going to be warded off, and with this 8 racks production versus just the 57 drones of NYK, I feel like he'll be pretty happy with this. Like, 57 isn't a low number, but that's not really what you want to be as a Zerg in a macro game against a Terran on 3 bases taking a 4th. Like, if you're going to stay on this drone count, you really need to force the issue and make your units really count, and I don't feel like he's quite doing that. Like, if you want to play so passively, you need to go up to 70 drones, you need to go up to Hive. Like, the way that he's playing just seems too in between to me. Like, it's in between macroing and like trying to hit a timing, and he's not really doing either.
Yeah, He's trying to get a little bit too much, having his cake and eating it too, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, sure.
Notice this one Overlord that NYK has just like sitting between all 3 bases. It's just chilling there. Like,
I remember like this happens to me pretty often on my stream where someone will fly an Overlord like into my base or like somewhere like really obvious like this, and everybody gets like really not upset, but they're like, oh my god, like don't you see the Overlord? Like why don't you kill it? And I'm just like, well, it literally doesn't matter. Like this unit is not scouting anything of importance or doing.
He's rallying more aggressive units out on the map.
Yeah. There are bio units coming out of the barracks, guys.
Yeah, well, what's interesting about this Overlord is that it's at half HP. So like, it at one point was attacked by something and then just stayed alive the whole time.
Yeah, it was probably somewhere else and it got poked and chased away and it moved. I don't know.
Okay.
In any case, NYK, I mean, he's down 40 supply, right? And this is like kind of what I said. Like he's in this halfway in between place where his macro is not really kicking in as much as it should be, and Buster has 2-2. There is 2-2 for the Zerg, or at least 2-1 with the second upgrade almost complete. He is going Hive, which is what he should be doing, but this is a late Hive. I mean, this Hive could have been done like a minute ago if he was playing a pure macro game. And I don't know. I'm just curious why he played this way, whether he felt like he needed to play, this safe to defend the early pressure. I don't really feel like he did. But maybe he was feeling the pressure from the early harass. This is a little bit awkward. Army rolls in as the tank's on siege, so this is about as good as it's going to get for NYK, but even with that, I mean, the bio army is just way bigger.
Yeah, and it's forced to pull back, so even though the tanks are dealt with, the bio survives in the back, and that's what deals all the damage. So, I mean, there's more Banelings morphing on the high ground. Wow, I actually would have stemmed up there and canceled that, but instead it looks like he will back off and stay safe.
Going for a drop. This is an interesting play. I think it's fine. Like, you can do this when you get an advantage. Just send all your units around, or some of your units around for a drop. Because really, the Zerg doesn't have enough units to deal with both ends. And your units will be a bit better off if your opponent, isn't able to just roll those Banelings in for those huge connects. Like here, you're kind of hedging your bets with the Baneling connects. Like, even if he gets good connects, you only lose like half of your army instead of all of your army. And you can just pick up and run away if you don't like the situation. And he's up to 50 supply. And he's taking a fifth.
It just keeps getting better and better for Buster. I want to see what these drops are going to do down here towards the bottom. All right, finally moving them away. And yeah, he's just going to F2 back to base. Yeah,
I do think he needs to, like,
we're back to regroup.
Important to end the game, but he has to, like, do something before this Hive finishes, because if you let your opponent build ultras, like, you're just giving them a chance to get back in the game for no reason. Like, you want to win here. He actually just made 15 Hydras, so that'll certainly make the fight a little bit more contested. He'll need to be careful and use his tanks well, but I think he's still got the army to do it.
Checking his hatcheries, he's actually pretty low on larva here, but coming around from behind, trying to get good Baneling connections. He's actually going to be coming around from on top, trying to get the Hydras to get on the tanks, but neither one of those angles is going to pay off, and GG Buster takes game number 1.
I feel like a lot of these Zerg players are misunderstanding how Hydras work in fights. Like, you can't flank with Hydras like that unless you are really confident that you have a bigger army. Like, you can do it when you have a bigger army, because what it does is it ensures that your opponent can't really like kite or run in any way. But when your army is not bigger, it just makes your army weaker, like, to flank with the Hydras like that. It gets your Hydras exposed, and it just makes the Hydras weaker. If you're behind, you kind of just want to sit on creep and, like, you want to flank with some Ling Bane and not with your Hydras. Like, you can't flank with Hydras unless you're way ahead, or even just a bit ahead. But when you're behind an army, I don't think you can do that.
Okay, this is gonna do it for our tournament. Either this is our last game or we go to one more. Either way, there's a maximum of 2 more games left. So it certainly looked like a great play style there by Buster. I would say that maybe a little bit too much damage taken early, or I think the confusing choice for me from NYK was just like, why stop at such a low drone count early on?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as I said, it was just kind of like he was halfway between playing a macro game and trying to put on pressure. Like, the other thing was the early-ish lair. It wasn't like early, but it hurt his drone count to get this lair at this time. and it didn't really give him anything because he didn't attack. He got his early banding speed. He didn't need it to defend or to attack, and it hurt his macro, and he never got up to like the drone count that he wanted to.
He was trying there towards the end, but then he's also like, oh man, I need tons of Hydralisks right now, and then he blinks with it. I don't know. Some confusing decisions from my perspective, but I'm sure he's just doing the best that he can. And here for Buster, he is poised to advance on to the finals. And of course, keep in mind after this guy's got to play Bio Ice, so maybe he's getting all of his TVZ practice here ahead of time.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll play every game of Hellion Banshee against Bio Ice too. That would be the one where I'd be like, okay, you know, I feel like perhaps I need to mix it up to beat this guy because that.
Well, Bio Ice is also like one of those guys who will all in you. Like
that's true.
You got to watch out for that, and we haven't seen a whole lot of success there tonight. So let's go ahead and introduce.
Yeah, Hellion Banshee is pretty good against all-ins. Go ahead.
Well, okay, all right, here we go. Our red Terran player in the bottom right-hand side of Odyssey. This is Buster.
And making his home in the top left of Odyssey, it is Storm's NYK.
Wonder what NYK stands for. This is my mystery for today.
Perhaps not wise to ask him during the game.
We'll just like type it to him. It's like,
yeah,
hey,
by
the way,
we were
PP, I need to ask the player a question. This is for an important point during the show.
You have to enrich my cast and answer my question.
It's like, hey, I didn't do enough research. Can you tell me your name? I've definitely done that before. Although, you know, if you're casting like a team game or like a free-for-all game or like something like that, where there's just like an insane number of players, like there's just no way that you're going to be able to like figure out all these names. And especially if you're casting like an open tournament, then there's just like, there's no hope. There's no hope.
Right. So we do have the Rax first Reaper expand once again, it appears. Interesting Rax placement. I don't know what that's about. What? That is all. I guess he wanted to start a wall with his depots, but he didn't want his racks in the wall. I feel like there is one good reason for this, which is that you don't want to build your add-on in the wall, but there's a way to avoid that, which is you build the racks where the depot is and build the 2 depots on the left. Like, you can wall it.
It's not like he doesn't know that. Sometimes you panic, I guess, and you're just like, oh, I need to get it down now. But I feel like a wall, especially like almost only versus Zerg, is like the most important part.
Right. I don't think NYK will do anything even if he sees this weird wall. Like, Buster's builds tend to be pretty safe too, so it's like it's not of dire importance to get this down. Anyway, everything looking pretty normal once again.
Yeah. No, there's just nothing to see here. Watch him scan to take out this Overlord. Nah, even that probably wouldn't do it. Every once in a while, you get those Terran players. They're just like, no, this Overlord dies. Like, okay, man, go for it. Jeez. No, it survives. The Marine out there on the watchtower, and Overlord number 2 will make his long, slow trek across the map. I guess it's not a trek. It's like a float.
Yeah.
Whatever you call. What do you call Overlord movement? What do Overlords do? They.
I would say float is pretty reasonable.
Hover, I guess.
Hover, yeah, is what I was gonna say. Anyway, we've got. Care to take a guess about what Buster's build is?
Yeah, I'm gonna say maybe Hellions. Also, the potential. Not gonna go out on a limb too far. Maybe Banshee.
Maybe he'll make a medevac this time. That was the one variation we did.
It's like an old Tech Lab medevac. Gotta upgrade that boost upgrade.
I didn't know that boost upgrade existed for the longest time.
What is it actually called?
High capacity fuel tanks.
How do you? Oh my god.
You can hover over it. I don't know it off the top of my head. You can keep the Tech Lab and hover over the upgrade. I don't actually know everything about StarCraft. We do have 4 Hellions out on the map. NYK taking the 3rd base at a very normal time. Getting out a couple, or 1 extra queen, I guess. Oh, he's actually gone for a Roach War in this game, so it will be something slightly different. I wonder if he'll use these Roaches to hold off the Hellions, or if that will be his mid-game composition. These 4 Hellions rolling on in the natural, but upon seeing some extra lings, They're gonna roll on out. Oh, he actually gets surrounded, and all of these Hellions are gonna go down. That's a big misplay. That's
Oh my god. That's just wow.
Yeah, if you're the Zerg in this position, you'd just make 20 drones. But
I mean, that's not even like
20 roaches
losing your Oracle to a Widowmine early. That's like,
right.
I don't know. I mean, it's exactly like what it is, right?
Yeah. So he actually might be doing. I'm not gonna say the only thing that could lose him the game, but this is definitely very risky. Which is he's making 9 roaches and he's gonna Ravagerling all in, and I don't like this at all because first of all, there's a Banshee out. Second of all, the Banshee's gonna see it, and third of all, the second Banshee's gonna be out. I'm like, if you know your opponent's going Hellion Banshee, why would you ever roach all in? Like, that's my question. Like,
more than that, like your opponent, your opponent has always gone for Hellion Banshee.
Right. Right. It's more about that. I mean, he didn't necessarily scout whether or not his opponent was going Hellion Banshee, but the point is, it seems clear that he's going Hellion Banshee pretty much every game. Now, this could still do enough damage. This is not 100% all in. I mean, he's got 33 drones and a third base, but it's not going to do enough. I mean, the Banshees are just killing stuff way too fast. And he's not even going to kill a bunker.
He's not even targeting SCVs.
Yeah, that's it. He lost 12 SCVs, which is actually probably even more than he needed to lose. Did he cancel it? Did he start a third CC and cancel it? I think he did. So yeah. I think he canceled a third CC, but there are now 3 Banshees. And the Zerg is not going to have any good way to deal with these because he's on hatch tech and has like 3 or 4 queens. So yeah, I think he should keep all these Banshees together and go for queens. But I guess he's afraid of getting all end again. But I mean,
man, if there was ever a time to hit like every inject perfectly and have like the best spore placement of your life, like it's now. Because I mean, okay, the Banshees are standing still though, so that in and of itself is a little bit confounding. But
yeah,
this is gonna be rough to deal with.
True. I mean, NYK has some stuff in position. He's gonna be able to ward off this Banshee. This is why I'd like to see the Banshees group up because you can actually just kill queens. As it turns out, queens are in fact mortal, even though many Terran players would tell you otherwise.
Well,
Buster,
I mean,
yeah, getting that 1-1. He's gonna be getting an armory soon, theoretically, anyway. As his 1-1 is nearing completion.
Oh, the transferring drones. He actually could have killed those, but instead it's just going to be annoying in the main base. See if there's an Overseer on the way. No, not really.
Any damage he gets here is just kind of a bonus. Like, he doesn't actually even need to do damage with these Banshees to have an advantage, but every drone that he kills with these Banshees is like makes it that much harder for NYK to come back.
Well, +1/+1 is just now finishing up, so this could very well be a very potent push coming behind us.
Yeah, there are no banelings. So the thing about Roachling or roaches in general is that roaches are a unit that are good when you're ahead and economically, because they eliminate a lot of micro potential on both sides. You know what I mean? Like, roaches don't have a lot of micro options, but there's also not really a way to like micro against roaches such that they will not be effective. Like, people will always attack and they will always take a certain amount of damage to die. Yeah,
their strength is their weakness. Yeah.
Right. They, you can concave, of course, and like there is micro. I'm not saying the unit doesn't require micro, but it's very hard to win with roaches from behind. They're not a good comeback unit.
Well, here we go. There's the concave you were talking about. Wow, getting right on top of the tank as well, trying to take it out, and it will go down.
Yeah, that was about as good as he gets. I think Buster made a mistake by picking up. I think he should have just kited downwards because his Marines had 1-1 and the roaches did not, which makes them a lot stronger. Like,
he also would have been kiting off creep too.
Right, exactly. Like, as long as you're not getting hit, like as long as you're not getting abused by this brutal concave, you can actually fight with lower numbers. Oh my god, if he kills that. The comeback. Here it comes.
Wow.
1-1 finish for the roaches too. I guess this is not over. This is not over anymore.
Wow.
This is actually pretty far from over, I would say. That was not the way you want to do tech.
How to lose everything. Oh my god. This is that Lemony Snicket book, man. A series of unfortunate events for Buster.
Right.
Holy cow.
Let's not exaggerate too much though. Like this is still, like he's still in a fine position. Like this is the position that you would be in if you played an even game, but
yeah,
it's not the position you'd be in when you defended a Roach all in, or Ravager laying all in, whatever.
Yeah,
He's
got 2 more.
Yeah,
he's got 2 more medevacs headed out. We're just gonna talk over each other the entire rest of the cast.
Yep.
You cast and I'll cast, and
yeah,
people can choose who they want to listen to.
At the same time, and as long as we keep talking at the same time, nobody can complain because you get to hear both.
Yeah. If I say something wrong, I'll just pretend like you said the right thing. So in the end, ultimately the correct thing is said.
Yep. So this nice drop over here, the gold kills off a few drones, 6 to be precise. That will help increase the strength of this incoming 2-2 push. Once again, like, I know I've mentioned this in several games, but this is really important from Terran players that I see a lot of Terrans like not really prioritize this enough, which is making sure you get your armory down to start 2-2 on time. Like 2-2 is your timing, like that's your moment, and making sure you have that on time is like one of the most critical things in this matchup. So you have to like, it's better to build the armory early than it is to build it late, like much better.
I think we actually saw that a little bit earlier, but yeah, it's going to be a big difference, and this is a big push. Now, this might be a little bit of an anti-timing. Nope, we'll hit exactly at the right time. So exactly like you said, Poke Bunny, 2-2, a big power push, and they're both coinciding perfectly.
Yeah, actually the weapons is like 20 seconds before the army, but the weapons is much more important than you. So I think this is going to be a game.
Here we go. Yeah, just smashing through everything. Look at that. Around the corner, Concave. Wow. Great control here and forcing a pickup from Buster.
Yeah, I think Buster is still ahead. I think that was still a good push, but he needs to be careful and like make sure his next attack is a bit better positioned, I guess.
All 3 medevacs die. We're like, oh my.
Yeah, suddenly. Yeah, nice drop in the main. This is a really good drop. This is actually not even the same 3 medevacs, and he's also dropping over the 4th. This is really good.
Yep.
Buster needs to hold position as Marines though, so they hit the drones, but he didn't. So that was still okay. That was still good. Like this is still good. Every bit of damage he gets is fine. Like he's not in a rush yet. All he needs to do is win before the not necessarily win, but he needs to get a commanding advantage before the hive tech kicks in, and I think he'll be able to do that. Like this next army is apparently just gonna siege. All right.
Look at this base that that Buster has taken over way on his opponent's side of the map. That is that's pretty open.
Yeah, I actually like this base. I think this is an underrated base.
Okay.
It has 20 minerals, first of all.
Oh.
Second of all, or excuse me, 10 minerals. Second of all, it's a good staging area, like for your attacks. Like it makes sense to push from there. So it's like you can rally units there and defend it pretty easily. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize that had an extra patch on it.
Yeah, 2 patches, 2 extra.
Wow.
But yeah, once Buster moves over, like, the problem with Roach Ravager is you really need something else to deal with the 2-2 push, which is infestors usually, and he didn't get those until a lot later than he should have. But I think this is one thing that's true about Buster's style in general, is he lets himself max too much. Like, by the time you were maxing, like you should have already won the game because you're pushing aggressively. Like, like you shouldn't. The game should be being decided before you hit.
Oh man, here we go. Big stim in there on the side. Huge fungals all over everything. The roaches are starting to fall, but where are these corrosive bios going to land? The bio does survive for quite a while, but all the infestors die with a save for 1 in the back, and everything will get cleaned up here. So NYK will hold on, but at what cost?
Yeah, there's a reinforcing army here that should clean it up, or come close anyway. Buster's on 4 base, which is really like the only danger when you're doing a push like this. Well, not the only danger, but one of the dangers is that if your opponent's good about counterattacking, it's very hard to push quickly and also defend counters. But he's not having to worry about counters because he took this 4th base that he's staging his push from. So the only place he has to worry about counters is Nat. And against Roach Ravager, that's also like much less common as well. Like Roach Ravager doesn't have a lot of counter potential. I don't know how I feel about this kiting forward on the Ravagers thing, but I think he's ahead enough.
I mean, he kills every Ravager, so
yeah.
I mean that's just gonna make these Liberators even more effective. He stimmed in to kill the Infestor way at the back and took that one out.
Right. Yeah. He's kept enough pressure on this gold that it hasn't even really been able to mine properly, and that's the only fourth for Zerg. Like, Zerg's economy is just going to keep getting worse because he will not be able to take a fifth. Well, he's taking a fifth, but by the time he comes up, the game should be over.
Nice pickups here. Just going to go on to the high ground. There's Liberator support as well. And yeah, like you said, that base behind it just going full throttle for Buster. There's nothing there that can hit the Liberator. It's just going to stand there and reign supreme.
Yep. Hatchery goes down, which is really good for Buster. I mean, now he just backs off and pushes the new fourth. Like, there's actually no reason to continue pushing at this location. You just always want to push down the new expansions. Like, the two reasons for that are, one, like, the new expansions are obviously where your opponent's going to transfer drones and, like, try to keep their economy going. And the other is that there tends to be the least creep at the newest expansions. Like, if you push towards the third, there's going to be more creep. Now, granted, there isn't really a lot of creep in general in this game, but pushing towards newer expansions will generally have you pushing on creep less than the alternative. Yeah, the supply is really telling the story at this point, though. Like,
right.
There's not, especially with a roach-based army, there's very little you can do when you have less supply.
Well, this could be it. Stimming forward, GG. That's gonna do it. In the end, it is Buster who takes his way all the way through the lower bracket and comes out the other side to advance to play in the Swiss rounds for the Kings of the North finals.
Yep. Congrats to Buster. Definitely a little bit of a surprise, I would say. He beat a couple of people that I didn't think he would beat. His mechanics were pretty strong in TVZ. I think, his opponents made some mistakes, but he played. I mean, that's the strength of playing one style, right? Like, you know how to play your style, you know how to play it against everything, and so there's less risk in terms of like outplaying yourself, I guess.
That's certainly really true, and I think for our Zerg players today, we got a chance to see a lot of TVZ, even some PVZ mixed in there, and it was all about how well you could defend and the decisions that you made immediately following that. So the Zerg players that got too aggressive almost always just lost early. We saw even in the first game of this series where NYK just chose to stay on like a very low number of drones, and it didn't wind up working out. But instead of focusing on reasons why players lost, we should just congratulate Buster for making it all the way through to play in the grand finals. Now, because we have gone pretty late tonight, the grand finals will not be streamed, but they will be happening live at the venue. And even if you can't be there live at Raiders Esports Bar in Canada tonight, then you can make your plans to attend the Kings of the North grand finals. I know there's going to be sick casters there, great players, and it's all happening on October 14th. So mark your calendars. If you have a calendar, do something like that.
Yeah, I would just also like to mention, it may seem anticlimactic that we're ending, of course, without the grand finals, but I would say these are the most important games, which are the qualifying ones.
Right.
This is a LAN, but it's also just a qualifier for
it's a qualifier.
Kings of the North. So we've seen the players who've qualified. We've watched them go through, and we will get to see both Buster and BioIce in the next stage.
Yep. So congratulations to both Buster and BioIce for advancing. We'll see them a little bit later on. But also a big thanks to everyone for coming out and watching. So thank you all for being here. Make sure to support the players. If you can, come watch them in person, go do it. And of course, big thanks to Joe, our producer behind the scenes, and everybody else involved in the event. It takes a lot of people to make all of this possible. And I'm glad that everything went successfully.
Yep. I personally attended the last Kings of the North, and I can tell you firsthand that the organizers and the people involved are awesome people, and I had a lot of fun there. So thanks again to them and their sponsors for putting on another edition of this excellent event. And I think that's about all for today.
Yeah. That's going to do it. You can follow Poke Bunny on Twitter at Poke Bunny. You can follow me at Rapid Casting. And if you want to hang on for about 8 more hours, I'll be doing SSL Premiere a little bit later on tonight here in Korea. So it's going to be a long day, but I hope you all have enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you for the finals of Kings of the North.